Metaphysical Shop, and we're in for a big treat today. We have Ismael Perez, who is the author of Our Cosmic Origin at cosmicorigin.com. And I just want to welcome you back, Ishmael. How are you doing? How's everything going?
Everything's going great. I've been extremely busy trying to create new content. So I have a lot of new videos, a lot of new revelations that I am actually posting on my YouTube channel. So if people want to follow me on my YouTube channel, it's a lot of great information. Not to mention, I'm interacting with people as I go live every other night. I'm answering questions, discussing the latest topics. Deep metaphysical and galactic information, of course.
Yeah, definitely. I think I saw you the other night on TikTok Live, which I'm starting to do those myself with like sound healings and tuning forks and that kind of thing, and then just bringing awareness to everything that's going on.
Yes, hold on. Am I live on my channel as well? I just want to make sure. One second, because it's saying that I'm live on both ends. I just did a live like 2 hours ago with the. Oh my God! I'm live on my own channel.
Yeah, if you signed in with your Facebook and it's connected, then you're live on your channel too. And we're also live on YouTube, but my YouTube and my Facebook.
All right, guys. My Galactic Jedi's. I don't know what happened. I was supposed to just be interviewed on her platform, but I guess you guys are going to get a double doozy today. I just finished doing a live with Antonia Herman. Oh my God! All right, cool. I guess I did that accidentally. I just I don't know what I did. I'm sorry.
All right. Well, I also back up my video to Rumble, Laura Leone's Soul Dreamer, and I'll type it below just in case it gets removed from Facebook or YouTube. But let's dig into it if you're ready, unless you have anything else.
I am ready, but I just lost the screen. Can you see me?
No, we can see you. Yeah.
Well, I can't see you. It's like it's back to my regular screen. It just went to the side. That is so weird.
That's probably from the chat. What about that?
Let me see. Where are we? Where are we? Is that it? No, that's not it. Oh, that's not it either. Why do I go back to where I was? Oh, there we go.
Okay. Are you good?
Good.
All right. Sorry about that. I know it's a little different than Zoom, but I don't have a lot of good experiences with Zoom, so I use Restream.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So for some people that don't know, that might be watching this, which maybe on your channel they already know, can you just kind of just briefly explain what is a starseed and what are starseeds here to do?
Absolutely. So we are considered old souls. So we come from higher than the fifth dimension. It is not just the fifth dimension. Some of us come all the way from the 12th dimension. So we come from the higher levels of reality. We actually took the call long ago to come and not only save the earth from its negative trajectory, but also save the entire organic way of life everywhere in the multiverse. So these bodies that were given to us have been in design for billions of years. They are the ultimate masterpiece of an intergenetic program, a positive program that has been in existence for 998 billion years. We are pretty much the culmination of the 12 major creations, as I explain in my book. We are part of the 12 creations. So we are the culmination of all of that put into one genome. So in a sense, yes, we are, as we evolve, we are the master race. But overall, we are the saviors. The starseeds are the saviors of mankind. We are everyone that everyone's expected in all the different religious books, in every tradition. We are the return goddess and goddesses, gods and goddesses of the original oracles. They never said that they were returned from the sky. This time they said that they would actually be born among humanity, and through this genetic mutation that is already in progress, that they would emerge as the next stage of human evolution. And we're also considered the return of the angels. So the terminology angelic is very synonymous to the benevolent guardian races. And so that's what we are. We work for a cosmic organization known as the Emerald Order. And there are different levels of that. And so that's what we are. We are pretty much the children of the one, the children of the light from the higher
Mhm.
level of reality that decided to take the call in order to save the earth and the organic way of life.
Wow. Yeah. So how would you explain that to somebody who calls themselves an atheist, for example?
Well, the best way to explain it to an atheist is, you wake up every morning, right? Of course. Yeah. All right. Every day the sun sets and the sun rises, right? Okay. um, you know, you experience emotions. Like, how do you explain emotions? So the best way to explain it to an atheist is just the fact that, you know, there has to be some sort of an intelligent designer in order for allow systems to revolve around suns, stars, right? Planets to revolve around stars, stars to revolve around galaxies, galaxies to revolve around their local universe, so on and so forth. So the entire what we do see here is order in the entire cosmos, and it's precise order. How do you explain the different genetics that we all carry? The human, for instance, the body, the human design, it is the most elaborate, organic computing system. I want to say organic because it's living, it's conscious, living, organic. Every cell, every gland is alive. So our entire bodies are a masterpiece of some sort of intelligent design. How do you explain how an oak tree, how the seed of an acorn grows into an oak tree? By divine intelligent design. How do you explain in the morning when flowers are blooming and they open up when the sun is out? How do you explain all of that? It's impossible to be an atheist when there is so much metaphysical and mystical. I want to use the words mystical because that's what it is. It's magic in a sense. If you see the magic involved in all of creation, right, then obviously there is a grand designer. So that's the best way to explain it to an atheist.
Yeah, I totally agree with a lot of that. And, I've been watching I think it's called the Wisdom Teachings on Gaia TV, and physicist Nassim Haramein, he keeps coming up, and he's basically, proven that atoms, as pretty much have a black hole inside of them. And from the macrocosm to the microcosm, anything from an atom to a black hole, and even a sun has like a black hole in it. And that the ether is conscious and aware. And so when I hear these things, that just kind of solidifies that, one, science and consciousness are one and the same. They're not separated like we've been told pretty much all our lives. And two, it just kind of gives a little more evidence for me as a researcher and investigator to dig a little deeper. And so I really appreciate that. One thing I wanted to get into was the solar flash. Is that something that you can talk about as to what it is and where you think we stand right now with the solar flash?
Well, it has been predicted. Again, every ancient spoke about this transition period, this idea that one day the sun was going to release something that was going to completely transform all species and matter as we know it on the earth. And every ancient culture called it by a different name. The ancient Zoroastrianism called it Frasho Kareti. The ancient literature of the Bhagavad Gita and the Rig Vedas, they called it the Sambartaka fire. And even within the Latter-day Saints, the Mormon tradition, I mean, we find this in every religious tradition, talking about a time when the sun would release some sort of a sneeze that will completely burn off all and polish and exalt and upgrade the righteous into a better state of living, where we no longer die, where we no longer age, where our bodies are just purely healthy. And so it is believed that due to the times that we're living in, because, we're not just ending a 2,160-year zodiac from one house to the other. We're actually ending four other cycles. We're ending a 5,000-year world age cycle and a 26,000-year cycle, which is five of those. And it's been scientifically proven that our solar system has actually experienced solar flashes many of times as it revolves around its parent sun, Alcyon. So we are approaching another one. The signs are there. all the scientific evidence is indicating that we are moving into a high frequency zone within our galaxy that is speeding things up, that is allowing those molecular structures in our body to just raise its frequency. And this phenomenon has been detected by scientists since 1980s. They call it the harmonic convergence. And they say it takes about 45 years for us to be fully emerged from the 1980s, 1987 to be exact, to be fully emerged in this phenomena where our entire solar system is going to be bombarded as it aligns with the center of our galaxy. So that is what the solar flash is when our entire solar system is fully emerged within the photon belt. So it also ties into ancient planetary and stellar cycles as described by the Mayan scholars and, of course, the ancient cultures, advanced spiritual ancient cultures, whose calendars we don't use, of course. We use the wrong timekeeping system. We use the Gregorian calendar, which is Cabal. So, the truth of the matter is that the Mayan calendar actually ends in 2024. So that's something to consider. So the Great Solar Flash is imminent. No one knows the exact day or timing, but what we do know, my friend, is that it's inevitable, and we have to be ready. So because when it does happen, especially the starseeds, the starseeds are going to be like the most powerful beings in the multiverse. You realize all the galactics out there are going to be they're going to be under us. That's why some of them fear this day. Some of these galactics actually have to integrate technology because they fear the day that when we transform into our newfound abilities. They fear that. And they know that we're going to be so powerful that there's going to be nothing out there in the cosmos that's going to compete with us.
Definitely, yeah. I feel like there's a huge shift coming 2024. A lot of astrologists have been saying this actually probably since 2012. And then more recently in the last, few years, a lot of people are like, it's the end of days. And I think it's more like the end of Cabal, end of Cabal days, the evil Cabal, so to speak. And so it's really good. And it has something to do with Pluto too. And Pluto's the destroyer, and that Pluto is destroying, helping with that energy. And, that's just it's the macrocosm and the microcosm reflecting each other in our solar system. You know more about the central sun than I do, but I know that the Pluto's the destroyer, and that the Cabal, I believe in 2005, declassified it as a planet and then changed their mind and said it's a dwarf planet because they knew that shift was coming. And it's still a planet, but they're saying it's not because they don't like it as a destroyer. But you brought up the Mayans. I'm half Mexican. My dad is from Mexico. I'm 1/3 Aztec, and from what I've heard in your interviews, you're from Mexico City. What went wrong with the Aztecs and the Mayans? Did they have a misunderstanding of Cabal and sacrifices? And that was actually before the conquistadors got there, and the Spaniards brought, the Vatican Cabal to them. Do you have any insight as to that, or what happened?
Well, from what I understand, the Mayans couldn't even perceive the armadas, the ships coming from the sea, because they weren't, it wasn't in their perception. But I also believe that the Mayans were so spiritually advanced that they were able to collectively ascend their entire civilization in order to safeguard the oncoming slaughter of the Spanish conquistadors. And contrary to what history books tell us, I believe that the Mayans were shipped their density into the fifth dimension in order to protect themselves. And there is a solar system with this that talks about that is actually considered and called the Mayan star system. So that's where the Mayans come from. They're completely from the Pleiades.
Yeah, that's my understanding of it. It's actually called Planet Maya, right? Maya in Pleiades.
Maya, yes. Mm-hmm. Just to make a correction, I'm actually from a city called Guadalajara.
Oh, okay.
Which is in a state called Jalisco.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I've heard of it. My dad's from Baja. He's Mexicali, but his family's from Nayarit.
I heard Mexico City was awesome and beautiful. I mean, isn't that where they have those stepstone pyramids?
Yeah, like pretty much the whole like Cancun area over there. I've never been. I've only been to like Baja by, which is, desert bottom of California. But my dad's been, and it's pretty, it's pretty neat because they do ceremonies like every night. They have a lot of shaman type, spiritual native Mexicans, Aztec, and Mayans that don't even speak Spanish. That's how preserved their native, culture is. And yeah, I hope to go there one day. I was just wondering about the sacrifice thing, because when I think of the sacrifice, I think of the Cabal or the Vatican, not necessarily, but after the Apocalypto movie, which Mel Gibson, did, a lot of people think of, Mayan, Aztec sacrifice. So I just wanted to know what was going on there and the misunderstanding where it went sideways. That's all.
Well, we attribute the human sacrificing of the Mesoamerican region to Enki's son. What's his name? Thoth. Thoth was actually Quetzalcoatl to the natives of Mesoamerica, and he's the reason. Well, whoever remained behind, of course, after the Mayans ascended, whoever remained behind, they actually were instructed in the killing or the sacrificing of humans to Quetzalcoatl, who was also known as Kukulkan, and he was another serpent god, and they called him the serpent god. He was another son of Enki,
Okay.
So we attribute the human sacrifice to Enki's son, Thoth, who Quetzalcoatl.
Okay. And just for people that know, Enki is Cabal and Enlil is not. Is that how it goes?
Yes, Enki is the genetic progenitor of the Cabal families, and Enlil, through the demigods Athena, Poseidon. I'm not Poseidon. I'm sorry, Theseus, Hercules. That led to the seed of David and Solomon, and what we call pretty much the lineage of the White Hats. So we could trace the lineage of the White Hats to Enlil, Zeus, and then we could trace the lineage of the Dark Hats to Enki Poseidon, who is like the devil, right? Because he carries the trident. The trident is like the sign of the devil.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And Poseidon is the god of the ocean, right? Causing the storms and all that havoc.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Okay. That's what I thought. So let's talk about the moon. And I have a few prone questions because the moon is very interesting. And I asked this to Robert Grant on my interview, and he gives a beautiful long speech about sacred geometry and stuff, which I can appreciate. I'm a forensic accountant. So the moon statistically shouldn't exist, okay? As an accountant that does stats, the moon is 400 times in diameter, smaller than the sun, and in distance, both, which is pretty much statistically impossible. And I heard this, I don't know, on Ancient Aliens maybe 10 years ago. And to me, it blows my mind because, again, statistically, it doesn't make sense. Like it means it was placed. Like, yeah, it's a matrix, but this is like sticks out like a sore thumb for someone like me. And that indicates that it was placed there. And then I hear channels like Cosmic Agency saying that it's an old Andromedan spaceship and that the Cabal has gone there, but they use portals because they don't go there in the spaceships. They use an actual portal to go to Mars, Venus, and the moon. And so what are your thoughts on it being a spaceship and how it's pretty much statistically impossible for it to be the only eclipse in all of our solar system out of hundreds of moons? Perfect eclipse.
Well, it's definitely an artificial construct serving different purposes. Its main purpose is to keep an eye on us. So it's a huge satellite that was actually created by Enki and the Igigi, the Nephilim, the fallen Anunnaki, those that followed, the Draco philosophy and the Draco service to self mentality. And it was created for various reasons. The first reason was to keep us locked into this reincarnational cycle by keeping us locked into a very limited bandwidth of frequencies, as opposed to the entire light spectrum, a small narrow bandwidth frequency. So the moon was like a way of like trapping us into this reincarnational loop without allowing us to go beyond the third dimensional body of flesh and bones. And it is a spacecraft that could also be piloted, by the way. So when you when you look at the inside of the moon, what you have is you have a bunch of operating systems. It's completely metallic. It's not even organic. However, at one point, we did have an organic moon approximately 75,000 years ago to 100,000 years ago. But unfortunately, that moon was used by Marduk, the son of Enki, in the destruction of Lemuria. So our real moon was destroyed. Back then, we did have two moons, actually. We had the real organic moon and the artificial construct. Unfortunately, today, the artificial construct has been left behind.
Okay. Yeah. And so I heard that the artificial construct is still intact there and that it stabilizes, all our oceans and everything after the Great Flood, roughly like 12,000 to 13,000 years ago. But they use it is like a matrix hack, like you're describing, but they also use a hologram. And the hologram is an overlay. And that on the back side of the dark side of the moon, you can see that it's like metal and all that. But it's landlocked, like it's locked on one side, or tidal locked, I think they call it. And the tidal lock side is what we see. That's why the face of the moon always looks the same with the hologram. And so have you heard anything about that hologram?
Yeah, actually, I believe that hologram that was actually created by Enki was destabilized and neutralized by the Earth Alliance and the Guardian races just within the last few years. It's no longer there. Now, I do want to address the question somebody asked. They said that Enlil enslaved humanity. Just to point out that all the records that come from the ancient Sumerian tablets were actually inverted, guys. Enki is the one who actually created the slave race, all right? It just flip it around. Enlil was the one who was actually protecting humanity, because Enlil was also Zeus. He was known by different names depending on the different cultures. So he was actually the guardian of the earth, the protector of the original angelic DNA 12-strand humanoid. And Enki was the one who corrupted that by admixing genetics with the primitives, creating a slave race. And then that's when we fell in consciousness after the fall of Atlantis. So we could attribute that fall to Enki, the great trickster, who is also known as the whore in our universe. All right, Enki's known as a great whore, And so what I mean by that is he goes around to different solar systems and he creates loosh farms. He creates hybrids where he takes genes from animals and genes from humans, galactic humans, to create intelligent animals. And then he enslaves those animals and he eats them, and then he feeds off their energy. So he's also known as the great cosmic vampire. All right, guys, that's what Enki's been doing across many sectors throughout the universe. But he has recently been stopped by Radiant Guardians.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like our vibrations are raising up no matter what is going on here. And then I don't know. I just think back to the Mayan calendar and the Aztec calendars, and that they use those Baktuns with those time periods. And you're right. There's something to the 26,000 year cycle, the central sun, the ending of an age, and it's more like an ending of a dark age, right? And the beginning of a golden age. And so I think a lot of people feel that energy and they just don't know how to explain it, or they don't really know what's going on. I think that's really interesting. And I believe the moon is like directly tied to all that. And like you said, and I've heard of a planet called Tiamat. Is that something that you know of? And the one that existed before the moon that was destroyed with the Mars, having these radioactive signature there and nuclear bombs and the Great Flood. Is that all connected?
Well, believe it or not, the Earth used to be Tiamat 4 million years ago. So a chunk of Tiamat reincarnated as the Earth, or redeveloped as the Earth. That's why it's 4 times as small, 4 times the size. And then a part of Tiamat became the asteroid belt. So Tiamat, yeah, that was the original super Earth. It was called the original super Earth.
Okay, great. Yeah, I heard that it was also called the second sun because it reflected a lot of light from the sun, like acted like our moon, prior to that destruction. So that a lot of starseeds have still within their lives, and that they still feel and they remember, and especially if they do past life regressions. So let's jump into what's going on with Maui. What's your take on Maui, and are there a few big things that we should be aware of, and what can we do to help if this happens where we live at?
Well, something that I told my galactic Jedi's is that there are different versions of the Earth, parallel Earths that are coexisting, each one with its own slightly different timeline. So on one side of the spectrum is it's something that was you could say executed by the Cabal using advanced DEW weapon systems to eventually, I guess, install a smart city. But on a different alternative perspective, it was something that was executed by the good guys, the White Hats, in order to destroy the underground biolabs that are located in Maui. And the only reason in that timeline, the only reason they left those mansions behind that are owned by the elites was because they needed all the evidence in order to put these people in jail, because obviously they destroyed a lot of the evidence when it came to the Epstein list. A lot of that evidence was destroyed, and so they need to find evidence in these mansions that is going to incriminate these elites in order for them to go down when the EBS goes through. So depending on which parallel Earth you're in, it could, on one spectrum of the parallel Earth realities, it's done by the dark side to install the smart grid, and then on the other side of the spectrum, on a positive ascending timeline, it's done by the good guys to destroy the underground biolabs and what used to be called the reptilian population in Hawaii.
Okay,
And
how do people in Hawaii, I guess, get through that? Is it one of those things where the cabal is in their face, so they say no to everything, but if they need to eat and have water in an emergency situation, they're going to have to do what they have to do to get by, right? Temporarily.
yeah, that's the part of that I don't understand. I don't understand why our Navy SEALs and our U.S. Marines aren't going over there with water and supplies. That's the only part I don't understand. I guess in time we're gonna all know the truth as to what really went down in Maui. Right now, everything is speculation. But what we do know is that they used definitely directed energy weapon systems. That's a fact. I mean, that's a fact.
Yeah, and if you don't mind just kind of explaining briefly, like, what is a DAW? Because I think there's a few people that might not know.
Well, as an interplanetary society, within the private sector, they have the ability to control weather, to geoengineer storms, earthquakes, tsunamis, hurricanes. It is an extension of HARP. So the DEWs are pretty much where they use from a satellite. They're able to use a laser, and they're able to pinpoint and locate whatever it is that they want to destroy, and they just beam the laser to that part of that region on the planet, and it completely just annihilates it. It's almost like a bomb just hit the place, and just everything goes on fire. So it is an advanced weapon system that was given to the Cabal by the Greys, the Naboo, whatever you want to call them, and the reptilians of Regel system of Orion.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And I know there's been videos like of the California fires, and they showed direct energy weapons with literally lasers like shooting down, and there's a lot of videos like that going around, and obviously some could be fake, but others, I don't think all of them are fake. So I think that if you see one of those videos, just kind of think twice about that. And the technology has been out there for a while, maybe reverse engineered or something like that. I wanted to go back to the portals. So what do you think is going on with portals to Mars and or Venus? Do you think there's anything going on there? Is the SSP over on Mars, and I say this as an ex-Air Force veteran myself, but I guess the Space Force and the SSP, which has actually been around for a while, do you think they have bases on Mars, and what's going on? Is it something that's malevolent, benevolent?
Well, it used to be malevolent, but now it's positive. Now it's benevolent. Just since like maybe 2018-19, that's when the Guardian races, or sorry, the Solar Warden groups started cleaning house here in our solar system. So we took back all the bases, all the colonies on prime areas, the Lunar Operating Command, the different I guess, infrastructures that we've established on the dark side of the moon after fighting off some 15-foot grasshoppers and 12-foot insectoids. Everything's been restored. Everything has been restored back to the Earth Alliance. And yes, the portals are still intact. The jump rooms, these jump rooms are very real. The jump rooms are places. I can't really. I don't know where the exact locations are, but they say that some of them exist in these prominent hotels where you can just go into the hotel. You go into a certain room in the hotel, and next thing you know, there's a jump room in that room where you could access Venus, you could access Mars, the Lunar Operating Command, and different space stations throughout our solar system. So yeah, those jump rooms are very real.
That's interesting. Do you think that there's jump rooms also in the DUMBs, the deep underground military bases as well, or do you think it's just like one of those things like, hey, I go to the presidential suite and I have special access?
Absolutely, they're everywhere. A lot of those jump rooms were used by the nefarious forces, and that's why the White Hats had to, in the last few years, have been very instrumental in the destruction of these dumps and bases. After, of course, securing the children.
Okay,
So that's
so you brought up securing the children. So I'm sorry if you don't mind going into that next, because I think there's some people that don't really know what that means.
well, for many many years, millions upon millions of children have been missing year round, and these are children that are taken by the abducted by our own military, our own cabal, in order to experiment with them, to use them for sex, exploit them for sex, and then also to harvest their organs, and to eventually just sell them to the off-world colonies in order for the reptilians to then eat them as food source. So a lot of these children have suffered at the fate of the dark forces. So since 2016, ever since 45 came into office, there was a huge cleansing taking place where the military, known as the White Hats, have been, in the Navy SEALs, have been actually executing tons of rescue missions, ongoing rescue missions that have been taking place now for quite some time. And the whole purpose of conducting these rescue missions was to actually get to as many kids as possible, at least those that were still fully intact. Of course, the ones that were dead, they couldn't really do anything. But other than that, they've been rescuing children for years now. So I could understand why there is a using directed energy weapons by both sides right now, because right now it's coming to a climax. We have the White Hats who are trying to destroy any remnant of the underground tunnels, dumps, facilities, subterranean substructures that were once operated by the cabal and their off-world overlords, whatever you want to call them. And then you have the CCP and the globalists who are trying so much hard to hang on to their power, knowing that their time is up. So things are definitely heading into a climax.
Yeah, yeah, they are, and I feel that the White Hats are winning, so to speak, but it's going to take a little bit more time. So thank you for that information. As far as the cabal goes, it's there's rumors already going around that there's going to be more lockdowns or climate lockdowns or whatever they want to call it coming this fall. What do you think's going on there, and do you think that's just another scare tactic, but people kind of know better this time?
I think that the Galactic Jedis are those that are intuitive, that are actually sensing the changes, know that something is coming, but it's actually going to be in our benefit. So many are feeling that September could be the great solar flash. It is predicted that the biggest CMEs are going to be happening sometime in September. So we're all excited, and I think we're all just waiting for this day to hatch into our new superhuman state of being.
Yeah, and just to explain, the CMEs are those solar activities that are exploding from the sun.
Yeah, it's the sun releasing energy. So they call them coronal mass ejections. Coronal mass ejections, which is energy that erupts from the sun, that has a an effect on us as it hits our planet.
Great. So is there anything that you want to talk about specifically in your book, or any updates that can help people out to get through the next, 6 months or so?
Absolutely. Try to be in control of your mind, despite of what you hear outside. Do not buy into any negative timeline, guys. Put all your focus in the positive timeline, because ultimately what it boils down to, it's a war on consciousness. So it's like, depending on where you put your attention, that's the timeline you're going to end up in. So it's very important to understand that wherever you put your focus, you're feeding in energy into that reality. So just be aware of that your mind is so powerful that you could actually shift the entire world structure if you really, really believe in something, and you really hold that frequency. So my advice to everybody is to just keep holding the frequency, and don't let anything knock you down. In other words.
Yeah, and the power of meditation too, right? Like if you do group meditations, it's been shown to actually lower crimes and everything else that we don't want in the world, right? So I haven't done any big group meditations, but I've been on a few yours, which I really appreciate, because then I can just jump on yours and go on there. So that's really cool. But uh, something else that I wanted to ask you, ourcosmicorigin.com. So are you still offering classes like the starseed classes, astrology stuff? I think I took a few of yours, I don't know, a month ago or so. And what's going on with that? Do you do the starseed astrology yourself, or is it just the cosmic origins?
I teach 3 classes. I teach the Starseed Cosmology, which is an in-depth, detailed revelation of our cosmic and galactic history, dimensions, chakras, um, and much more, which is a 6-hour course, 2 hours a week. And then I also teach myth and theology, which is a class that dives into the different mythos, the different creation myths from every culture, who the gods were, and how they are actually tied into the extraterrestrials of the past. I also talk about the secret mystery school teachings, secret societies, Knights Templars. We go over the different types of secret societies, including Illuminati. We go over the different theologies. We actually unveil the Book of Enoch and the different books that were not accepted by the canonized Bible. So we go over some of these Gnostic gospels that were left, behind. And I also teach a class called a Starseed Astrology, where we take your natal chart, and based on your natal chart, we're able to pin down exactly your galactic origin and tell you where your soul first came into being in our universe. So I teach that under the Cosmic Arts. I'm no longer with the Mystic Arts. It's called the cosmicarts.com.
Oh, cosmicarts.com.
Cosmicarts.com.
Okay.
Of course, if people want to order the updated version of my book, which has an additional chapter, you could go to my website, ourcosmicorigin.com, and just hit the A for Amazon, and that'll take you to the new edited version, which is a purple cover.
Oh, great. Yeah, I read your first version, but I haven't read the new one. So I might do that, because I know you have an audiobook now, right?
I do. And that's actually 11 hours long. You could listen to it whenever you want. I tell most people to actually try to listen to an hour a night right before you go to sleep, so you could absorb most of the information before your brain waves hit that, delta state, right? Before you go to sleep.
Yeah, I think it's
So,
data that, and I don't know, delta. I don't know.
and actually what I'm going to do since the Galactic Jedis are on the live, I'm actually going to give out a QR code that will allow you to get a free copy, the audio version of my book, but you have to have Audible. Okay, so the QR code is, are you guys ready for this? Now, whoever types this first, I'm not just going to pick anybody. I'm just going to give it out. And if you have Audible, you type in this QR code, you guys are going to get a free audio version of my book. So one second. And this goes for your fams too. are for the people that are listening on your end.
Great.
See if I could find it. 1 second. Oh, there it is. Okay, guys. So this is the code, all right? Whoever types this first, you have to have Audible. You could download a free version, audio version of our Cosmic Origin. Here it is. 2, 3, E as in Edward, 49, N as in Nancy, 6, N as in Nancy, Y, E as in Edward, N as in Nancy, W as in Walter, and then the number 2. So let me repeat that again, guys. 23, E, 49, N, 6, N, Y, E, N, W, 2. So that is a code. It's pretty much a code that allows you to download the Audible version of my book on Audible. All right, guys. So we'll see who gets it.
I see Elizabeth Namaste. Does that look right, Ishmael?
She got it?
Yeah.
Elizabeth Namaste, did you order it? She got it already?
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Enjoy the audio, Elizabeth. You're going to love it.
Great. And somebody else had a question. If you don't mind, just one more question here. They asked about the Blu-ray order and orbs with ships. Do you know anything about what they mean? From what I know with the different rays and aspects, I thought that was something that came from the raw material.
Well, yes, and it's also related to the blue race of Sirius, known as the Azurites. So those are the Azurites. The Azurites came. They were the original prototype of the 12-strand DNA Tyrannusian, but that failed. So we're like the second prototype, the new prototype, and we're not supposed to fail. So those that come from the blue ray or that operating with the ray of the blue is because you are definitely from Sirius. You're obviously from Sirius. So you perhaps could be an Azurites. You could either be an Azurite or you could be a blue avian, which are all associated with the Ra Confederacy.
Okay, and just to be clear, Ra is something of Enki, not Enlil, right? Or is that something different?
Oh no, Ra is totally different than Enki and Enlil. Ra has to do with the well, in terms of the esoteric literature, it has to do with the hidden, the sun god, how the sun god keeps reincarnating, which is pretty much the logos becoming flesh, right? You know, we had Horus becoming the sun god, and then we had Jesus, so on and so forth. But also in galactic terms or cosmic terms, Ra is related to a ninth dimensional collective and above, coming from the third harmonic universe, that are pretty much kind of like the overseers of and the keepers of the law of one material, which is the philosophy and teachings of the unity of everything that is, and the higher evolution, the spiritual higher evolution, pretty much.
Okay, thank you. That's great, because I have not read the raw material, but I've heard of it kind of secondhand, bits and pieces, and I don't think a lot of people are aware of that. And that isn't it a collective that's from Venus specifically, or am I wrong?
Well, some members of the Ra Confederacy evolved out of Venus, but we also have members that are coming down or descending from the fourth harmonic universe as well. So it's a collective of descending intelligences and ascending intelligences working together as one confederacy, or they call themselves a collective, rather.
Okay. And the fourth, when you say fourth harmonic, you mean fourth out of 12, right?
Fourth, occupying dimensions 10, 11, and 12.
Okay, great. So if you don't have anything else, I really appreciate your time, Ishmael. I know you were on a live right prior to this, and kind of added your channel there. But I appreciate you coming back, and I all the insights about the moon, the solar flash, Aztecs, Mayans. It's all great information, and This will be on YouTube and both of our Facebooks. And if it's removed, it will also be on my Rumble, Laura Leone Soul Dreamer. And that'll be in the bottom. And I'll add both of your websites in the bottom, unless you have anything else you want to bring up, or just to motivate people while we're going through these times.
Yeah, one last thing, guys. Never forget who you are. You know, sometimes we have to remind ourselves that we are what everyone's expecting. Okay, guys, we are the 144,000. We are the elect. We are the angels, the warriors that were sent from the higher dimensions, from the future, traveling back in time so that we could correct and fix the AI takeover. Okay, guys? All right. That's all I wanted to say.
All right. Well, take care and talk to you next time. Thank you, Ishmael. Bye.
Yo.